Hey everyone, welcome back to the Catholic Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Fisher. Today, we're actually being joined by Brooke Joiner. I really do appreciate you taking the time to join. I have been kind of following you for a while and kind of some of the amazing things you're doing. So let's just start. I'd rather have you be the one to introduce yourself. So you just want to give some background on you and kind of what you're working on.
My name is Brooke Joiner. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Catholic Owned. And our vision is building the new Catholic economy. I have been married to Mateo almost 12 years. We have 4 children and we live in Delray Beach, Florida.
That's awesome. And you started Catholic Owns not that long ago. So tell me what the journey has been like from starting it to now.
We started in August of 2023, so almost 2 years ago, but not quite. And we, started because we were just, this thing kept happening that we were consistently frustrated with the companies. We would purchase something because we needed it. And then the company would post something on social, for example, like when Roe fell, a lot of companies came out and said, we stand with Roe or whatever, and we'll pay for our employees to travel to other states to have abortions. And it really brought to light where our dollars were going, and we just had that kind of betrayal, really icky feeling. And so we were looking for other businesses to support, but the truth is that they're actually really hard to find. Most people don't really have the time, resources, or even in a lot of cases know where to look, to find where these companies are sharing this information. And most people don't have time for that. So we said, okay, we need to do something about it. We really, felt called by God to do that. And so we started Catholic Owned. The journey has been absolutely amazing. From the beginning, we have been consecrated to the Immaculate Heart, and which is really special today. It's Our Lady of Fatima when we're doing this. But really, we always said from the very first, anything we've ever put out, that all the work we do is in reparation to the Immaculate Heart. So it's kind of like the first Saturdays, but in a company. So no matter what we do, we are at least, making a little headway on those reparations. And all that the work is really serving fellow Catholics and helping them find what they're looking for. So we started as a digital magazine, and we launched to 116 Catholics and their families in South Florida.
Wow.
And we went from idea to launch within about 4 weeks, or really it was 6 weeks, but we were on a pilgrimage / trip for 3.5. So
wow. Dang.
It was important. So it's pretty quick. And really it was just growing. And we realized obviously the digital magazine was never the ultimate goal. The digital magazine was the MVP, and the purpose of that was to test our riskiest assumption. And I don't know, are you familiar with the Lean Startup, Mitch?
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So basically the idea is it's like a long series of tests, and which tests you should start first, or you got to test your riskiest assumptions. Because if your assumptions are wrong, your riskiest ones, then you better change your plan. So that's what the magazine tested was, will people come to us for Catholic-owned businesses? And they did. And so that was growing. And so that was what, the evidence that we needed to go on to develop our app. The app launched April 25th, 2024. So it's been out a little over a year now. And really, we have businesses all over the country, thousands of businesses, thousands of users looking for the businesses, finding them, and doing business. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, and still is in a lot of ways. But that is where we are today.
Wow. So there's kind of two pieces of it I see. Like one is attaining this catalog of businesses, right? And the other is attaining users who can come to you to find those businesses. How do you work on both sides of that? Like how have you grown both sides of that?
Yeah, so it's a two-sided marketplace. So the sort of best practice for two-sided marketplaces is that you build the hard side first. The hard side is the one that usually pays you and is also the supply side. So for us, those are businesses. Because of the model that we adopted, um, we don't do transactions, Mitch. So that creates some challenges that we wouldn't have otherwise. But the businesses on our side, in our case, are the hard side of the marketplace. And so you need to build those up first is the standard practice. And then you go and get the soft side. And in our case, those would be the users who would be searching. The challenge and also the other sort of third aspect is with, it's called a networked product is another term for this. We are a two-sided marketplace and we are a networked product. And usually with those things, with those types of products, the best practice is to start very small, with a very tiny group, and then from there, that group you spread beyond that one group, and then everybody in that group would be connected to someone in that group would be connected to someone in the next group, and those are how network effects spread. And so we aim to adopt as many of those best practices as possible. One challenge that we faced, which is a good challenge to have, but was that I made a couple of posts on LinkedIn when we were just in South Florida, and suddenly a lot of people across the country were downloading the app and wanting their business to get listed. And I was not going to say no to them. And best practice people would say, like, you should have said no, but I didn't feel right doing that. And so that sort of brought about another set of challenges that basically you have to grow everywhere fast yesterday. Whereas if you're kind of local, small, it's very gradual, and then it can grow more quickly later. Suddenly it was, you need to be everywhere all the time, and that is a requirement now. So in that case, in that example and that moment, we went outside of the best practices, but it was because we're serving souls, and sometimes you have to kind of go on instinct, I think, at least for me. And I wasn't going to say no to fellow Catholics who are so excited about what we're doing. And so we went outside of that, and now we are working on serving everybody as well as possible. So sometimes it's okay to go outside of the norm.
Yeah. So I imagine that kind of initial phase of okay, we have these businesses in South Florida and there's these users, people coming to us to find us out. What was that like, taking that next step, and how did it explode faster than you thought it was, or was the growth manageable, or what was that process like when you're okay, this is people outside of my area want to be listed here?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always surprising. On the bright side, we have product market fit. With many graces, we have product market fit. So that allows, it's sort of like in the Bible, love washes over a multitude of things and a multitude of sins. I think I can't remember the exact quote, but it's truly with true charity, you can make a lot of mistakes and it's going to be fine. I kind of think of product market fit it's the same in the marketplace. So by no means is anything we do perfect. And I heard Jamie from Exodus 90 share about like the early days and like some of the feelings that he had about like he always wanted it to just be better, and like that sort of angst and that internal conflict of I want us to be better, but this is all that I can do right now, and I have to put this out so my people have something. I feel that every day. um, but you do the best that you can. You solve one problem at a time. Like you said, it grew very quickly. So we had to, improve the onboarding. For example, one example that was a big shift was, in the beginning, I would interview every single business owner. And that was just like so much of my time.
Mm.
And so we had someone suggest going to a self-led onboarding process, because ultimately they signed the terms anyway, whether I talk to them or not. And the terms are really clear. So does me talking to them really help vet them? No, like I am nobody. So what does it matter? Talk to them. The truth is like they agree to the terms and they want to be part of this, and like God knows their heart. So with that kind of mentality, it was like, okay, they want to be part of it. We need to make it possible for them to join. So that was the problem. The solution was self-led onboarding. And so so those are just a couple of examples of like dealing with more incoming traffic and demand than we were previously set up to accommodate.
Right.
And when you're serving like a lot of people, you definitely need like the back end to be built right, to accommodate all of them, because like I want every person inside of Catholic Owned to feel like they are really important, to feel really excited to be there, and that we are so excited to have them there. And if they don't, find what they want, like please tell us. Like if you have an idea or feedback, please tell us. Like you really matter. But you can't do that for thousands of people if you don't have a proper back end setup. So we built that out. and like that has been absolutely amazing. So just another example of something that if you want to do something well, grows quickly, you got to respond and kind of build the things that are needed. Sometimes in very fast time frames.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to that point, like, what was it like building an app? Like, what is that process like?
Really hard. It's really a hard thing, but it's like a beautiful thing. The most important thing is what the users want and need. And so designing something and building something that will fulfill those needs is the priority. What I found is I cannot have pride in it. The truth is, like, if I absolutely hate the way the app looks, but other people love it, like, perfect. That's great. And, but, I mean, like, it's a very complex thing. It's stressful. It's not for the faint of heart. And, like, it's technical, but it's also creative. And I don't know about you, Mitch, but anytime any creative anything of that I have had any like fingerprints on it all, anytime it goes out, it feels so vulnerable. I'm not a designer. I am not like a like an art person, and so there is just like a very like cutting vulnerability as feedback rolls in. So that's another challenge. And just like on a personal level, it's challenging to to solicit the feedback from the users, because like I think that people generally have a hard time giving me feedback to my face, because like I'm generally really kind and gracious. So the more distance between me and the feedback, first of all, is like better for me. I, I look forward to the day when like there's a really nice team that can just filter through it all, and I
Yeah.
never have to like read they can just soften it up a little. Just because I am like a mother, and like I have such a loving heart, and
hmm
but the more space between me and the person giving the feedback, the better, because we need the truth. And so that is another challenge that we face, because we're a small company. They're like, I'm kind of the public facing person just because there's no one else to do it. So sometimes the feedback, people, they don't want to say it, or but so that's another challenge logistically. But it's always vulnerable.
hmm
So, creating
Yeah.
that intentional space between the person and me to give that feedback is needed, so we get the truth. But also, like, I have to process the feedback about this very vulnerable thing. So
Right.
that's one of the challenges, just transparently, that about having an app.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I totally get what you mean. Like feeling the vulnerability of something you've poured a lot into, and just to like put it out there to people. I imagine it is because you like, yeah, you want that feedback so
Mm-hmm.
you can continue to iterate and make it better. But it's also like it can be challenging when you spent so much time on this thing, and like maybe someone's telling you that that's completely trash. Like you need to go this direction. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I imagine that's a challenge. But how? What if I'm like a user? Who just wants to be able to come in and see like Catholic owned businesses? What is my user experience like?
So you would download the app. It's for iOS and Android. And you download the app. It's free. So we don't collect your data. We don't sell your data. Like, it's free for real. So we ask you to give us your first name and your email, because we don't want sketchy people messing with our businesses, our clients. So we do ask that. And then you select up to 3 parishes that are important to you. And this is useful because on your homepage, we'll show you businesses at your home parishes. So, that's really important, especially as we grow, as more businesses are added. You want to support the ones at your parish first. So we give you that option. Then you open up the app, you have your 1 to 3 parishes, however many you're part of. And then below that is near me. And then you have your popular categories. So the structure of the app really is: check your local parishes first. If you don't find what you're looking for, check out near me. So, especially in areas with a lot of parishes, you're going to want, check locally for what you need. It's very like in line with Catholic social teaching. Um, but if you don't find what you need locally, then you do search all. And those are businesses, if you can see them in search all, they can serve you based on your location. So it is important to share your location so that we can show you businesses that can serve you. One example of this is like an insurance or a medical provider. The licensures for that. We don't want to show you those if they can't help you.
hmm
And so that's why we ask for location. But then you can find all types of businesses in there. We have like 48 categories right now. And anything from local realtors to doctors, attorneys, marketing companies, of course, Catholic goods like rosaries and gifts and art, things like that. But you also have financial, investment folks, and life insurance, health insurance, literally all business types. We mean it. So you'll find all those in there. Another great feature is you can actually save favorites. So this is really cool because then on your My Favorites tab, it's like your own personal version of Catholic owned. That you can, so you never have to go looking for that business again. Once you find them, save them as a favorite. You can click share to share with friends. Hey, check out this shop I just found. But then they're always in that favorite tab so that you're not having to repeat yourself. We always want to minimize duplicate work across the
Yes.
Catholic economy. So that's what that's for.
Nice. Okay, that's super cool. I think the parish aspect is really interesting. Like being able to support parishioners and knowing that they own those businesses. I do you do any like marketing to parishes or like like to get them on board with this, or is it still just directly through businesses and users?
So in our case, we technically there is a third side to our marketplace. And those are the parishes and other Catholic nonprofits. We actually have a really viable affiliate program with them. And every Catholic parish and every Catholic nonprofit is eligible for this in the United States. So it's completely free for them. They sign up, it takes 30 seconds. And then they refer us businesses to sign up as paid members. And then they get 30% every single year.
Oh wow.
So it's a recurring revenue stream for these nonprofits who have, whether we have an audience of 25 or 25 million, they can be, earning for something that is, contributing to the Catholic economy. Super easy ask for them and a way for them to get support without asking for more from their donors, which is something I understand nonprofits are always looking for ways to do. So that's kind of how we loop them in, and it's not like our core growth strategy or anything, just because we understand the time and patience required to serve, like the hierarchy and all of the structures of the church well, on their terms and on their timelines. But we have that beautiful opportunity available, and we love to donate to the parishes. I would honestly, Mitch, from my heart, I would so much rather every marketing dollar I ever spent go to the parishes and the diocese, and never give a dollar to Meta. That is my dream. So I'm working to make that a reality. But anytime we can use what are technically marketing dollars, but to go towards donations to the church, we're really happy to do it.
Yeah, that's a really neat structure. And on that note too, what are some of the things you do to market this to both businesses and users that you think maybe other Catholic entrepreneurs could take away from things you've learned in the marketing world?
It's really interesting because usually with a two-sided, in our case technically three, but with a two-sided marketplace, you typically need separate marketing messaging, and sets of marketing. Basically, you need different messaging, different collateral, different graphics, different copy, everything to the two sides, because the value proposition to both is very different. Interestingly for us, we to date have gotten both sides through one set of marketing, and that marketing is technically directed to app users. I really focus on user acquisition, with all of the marketing messaging that we do, and the businesses, that also seems to resonate with them, and so they both come. And again, that's very surprising. What we have found is that that would be useful for others is, first of all, marketing as Catholics is totally fine. We don't need to be ashamed. It is not a lack of humility. Really, I was speaking with a group the other day. If God has put something on our heart to serve, 5 people or 5 billion people. If we've been called to do that, then we need to do whatever it takes within moral bounds to make that happen while relying on graces. You're never going to reach the people that you need to reach if you don't market. And I wish that wasn't true, but that's definitely true. And so rather than like hiding behind like false sense of humility and like feeling guilty for promoting ourselves and like just my advice, if anyone is asking, because I never like to give unsolicited advice, just like forget about that. Because that is just holding you back. It is totally okay to market your business in an ethical way. And in fact, it is your responsibility to figure out how to do it well. Because if you don't, you're not going to do what God asked you to do. So if you don't reach the souls that you're supposed to reach, you're not doing what you need to do. So just market confidently. That will be my advice. Don't be afraid of including your Catholic identity, but it doesn't have to be everything either. Like, we kind of have it easy, We're a Catholic thing. We serve people on the boat. That's it. Very simple, very straightforward. But for a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily, the Catholic vibe doesn't necessarily fit explicitly in the brand and in the marketing and messaging, and that's okay too. You really have to discern that and weave it in a way that fits for you and the brand that you want. But don't be afraid to do that. And I think the third thing is like just, again, like it's a little vulnerable, but like just be yourself. And like whatever you're doing, it's enough. And what I always tell myself is it's for sure better than if nobody did anything. So my because I have to do things I never did so often. If I can do something like 10% as well as a professional, my 10%, which is really like 100% of my effort, is so much better than zero. Because I couldn't get a professional or whatever the circumstance was. We don't have another like spokesperson, So just know, like, just give God like whatever you have, and really you have to give it all. So don't fool yourself into thinking you're giving all if you're not. But if you're really giving it your all, like let His grace fill in the blanks. And just know, like the rest of us are just like being ourselves, trying out here too. So like take courage in that. That would be my advice to other Catholic entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really appreciate that. Brooke, where can people find and keep up with you and Catholic Owned?
So the best thing to do is download the Catholic Owned app for iOS and Android, and use the app. Tell other people about the app. That's the best thing to do. Second, because then you're also on our email list, so you get all of the updates, which we don't send nearly as many emails as people say we should. But it's like 1 or 2 a month. We're pretty conservative. And then, of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Brooke Joiner. Follow us on LinkedIn. And those really are the best ways to get in touch.
Awesome. Brooke, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and learn about Catholic Owned. We'll be praying for you and Catholic Owned. Just what the work that you do is really beautiful. So I really appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you so much, Mitch. It's been a pleasure. God bless you.
God bless, Brooke. We'll see you.